Welcome everyone to today's live stream, episode 19 of our Baldur's Gate 3 Ranger gameplay series. I'm Commander Jorval and I want to thank you for coming along on our journey today. So getting into some administrative notes, today might be a shorter live stream. It kind of depends on how much we go through explaining some of these fights that we're about to deal with and that sort of stuff. So if we end early, we end early today. I apologize if it's not a full stream. But we will pick up a new series after today. And I would like your comments, either during the stream here in the chat or leave a comment down in the comments below the video and tell me what class you'd like us to focus on next. This one obviously was about the Ranger and everything that it can and cannot do, but we also have a lot of other options in the game. I would prefer to focus on something that we don't have a party member that already fulfills. I've gotten some requests for warlocks and things like that, but we already have those available to us through party members. So if we wanted to explore everything that a warlock has to offer, we could do a lot of that through our party members. So I'd prefer to focus on classes that we don't have in our party members already, but I'm always open to all of your suggestions. So if you want us to focus on a rogue, or you want us to focus on a fighter or a cleric or something like that that we already have, just let us know why, and we'll see what we can do. So I think that's it for the administrative notes. I'm picking up where we left off last week. Last week we ended up getting in position to do the Grym Forge fight, or the Adamantine Forge fight, and that's going to spawn Grym, who is an automaton construct who's the guardian of the forge itself. We're gonna pick up right there and we're gonna start the fight. We're gonna talk about a couple of things when we do it, about why we're doing the setup that we're doing. But the fight can be fairly random, especially depending upon what initiative gets rolled by Grym at the start of the fight. So kind of want to, we'll do some saves in between this. I don't think we're going to need to do a reload, but we are going to definitely pick up our save right beforehand. And we'll save at a point that we feel might be advantageous to us, so if we want to recontinue it and go a different way with something, then we'll explore that. But I don't think we'll need to, but we'll see how it goes. And then after that, we're going to head over and take a look at the Githyanki Patrol. And that is one of the hardest fights in the game currently for us. I mean, the Grym fight is technically complicated, and it can turn very hard if things go wrong for you, but it can go very, very easily as well sometimes. So, without further ado, we're going to go to load game, because you see here that I did do a playthrough and I saved it at a particular location. So, when we talk about something about the fight in the Grym Forge, or in the Adamantine Forge, we can kind of explain it or show it using a previous playthrough that I saved. But for now, we'll pick up exactly where we left off at the end of our last stream, and we'll go from there. Okay, so here we are. If you remember where we left off last time, we have the splint mold in the mold chamber. We have the first piece of mithril ore in the crucible. We are up here at the top level, or down here at the bottom level of the Adamantine Forge. We have our ranger and our fighter kind of positioned opposite sides of the center line here, and then we have our Wow. we have our wizard and our cleric over here hidden beside the lava valve. Now remember, we also have the forge lever over here that is going to be used to bring down the forge on top of the crucible here. So the reason that we're putting these two hidden is because Grym is going to spawn right here. And when he does, he's going to be looking this direction, but his detection cone is not going to detect either one of our players right here. And that's what we want, because ultimately we want to draw him over to this location, and we'll explain more of that as we go. But for now, we're going to go ahead and use Shadowheart to activate the lava valve. Okay, so there's Big Bad Grym. Grym is a construct, and as such, he is vulnerable to damage from the light of creation. Remember, galvanic currents it's going to be doing the 1d6 lightning damage. And since he's a construct, it's not going to have a chance to stun me as the user. However, this is slashing damage that it's going to do, and lightning damage that it's going to do. And neither one of those things Grym is vulnerable to. Grym is vulnerable to bludgeoning damage when he is superheated. Everything else he's resistant to, so piercing and slashing damage, he's going to take 50% damage from all of the time. So bludgeoning, if you're going to get into melee, bludgeoning is the way to do it, since there are no ranged bludgeoning weapons except for some arrows that do bludgeoning damage. I've just equipped Pathbreaker here, just in case something does go wrong and we need to engage in some melee with him. I'll have something that he is vulnerable to. Next here, you can see that both my Ranger and Lazelle have now entered into combat, but neither Gale nor Shadowheart have. And this is very important because as long as they're not in combat and they don't cross a detection cone, we can move them all the way across this map, all we want. So having characters being able to move all the way across the map and not be limited by their turn-based movement distance is a huge advantage for you in this case. So, but to explain more about Grym, you see he's got the superheated trait for 2 turns. So right now, triggering the lava wheel activates lava for 2 turns. Once the lava disappears, he will still be superheated for 1 more turn after that. As long as he's standing in lava, the lava will continuously renew the superheated trait. When he's superheated, he's able to take some damage. So you see right here that, hold on just a second. YouTube on my other monitors is kind of popping in and out and refusing to render. So I'm just making sure everything's still okay. Okay, so Now I'm back here. So you can see he can take some range damage, but half damage only. So piercing damage, he's resistant to it, so he's only going to get 2 to 5 here. But other things, like Guiding Bolt doing radiant damage, see it says no damage at all. That's because he's purely resistant to all other elemental damage other than cold and thundering, I believe. Trying to find out from which bolt. Yeah, see? No lightning either. So right now when he is here, elemental damage is restricted to thunder damage and cold damage, and he is resistant to both of those, so he's only going to take half damage from both, but he's not purely resistant to it. When he's not superheated, he's resistant to all elements, and he's resistant to all damage types. Okay, so the other thing about being superheated is that when he's superheated, it doubles his movement range, and he can move 12 meters per turn when he is superheated. When he's not, he can only move 6 meters. Now, 12 meters is the distance between the center of these circles and the center of the crucible. So this is 24 meters across, 12 meters from here to here, and that's for everything on this ring. It's 12 meters to the center. Okay? 6 will get you from the center to a little bit off the edge of this circle here, and then another 6 to get you onto the crucible. And it's important to know that for the mechanics of this fight. Okay? So to begin with, we're going to leave Gale and Shadowheart just where they are. We're not going to bring them into combat. Okay, and we got a good roll on initiative. He's in the middle between our two characters, and that means that we can manage him, his aggro, really, really well. Okay, and what I mean by that is this. At the start of every turn, his aggro resets, and if you the first person to hit him will draw his aggro, and he will attempt to move toward that character and melee attack them. He has an AoE attack that affects the entire map, so everyone is going to get hit by it. But he's going to try and close to melee range. He has no ranged attacks per se. Right? So you want to be able to use one of your characters to be able to manage where he moves in this map. And that's important because part of your goal should be to get him onto the center of the crucible so that you can then bring down the forge hammer here and hit him with it. When you do that, it takes off about half of his health. It can do a little more than half, it can do a little less than half, but he has 225 hit points. Normally you do from 110 to 120 hit points of damage. So 2 hits with the forge hammer, and he's going to die. Okay, so that's an easy way to do it because he's resistant to so many other damage types. If you can lure him onto the forge hammer, that's the much easier way to kill Grym and to end the fight. Okay. The other thing about it is that he's only damaged by the forge hammer when he's superheated. So having somebody who's not in combat, who is able to flood this area with lava whenever we need to get Grym superheated, is extremely useful. Okay. Now, there's a downside to that, and I think that downside is what triggers the bug in this fight. So we'll try and explore that a little more as we go. But to start off, right now, Grym is going to be in kind of a suspended mode. He's appeared, but he's not going to attack normally. I say normally, because this might get a little weird. We'll see what happens here. And on that note, we are going to save. Okay. So this first time through your turn, you can just get off free attacks. And I'll kind of show you how that works here. So first, I want to be able to, depending upon your initiative, you want to be able to manage your attack with either your ranger or your fighter. Now, the chance to hit is going to be very important here. Whoever has the highest chance to hit is the one that you want to grab the aggro or to manage the aggro. Okay? Because as you want to be able to drag him to and away from a particular character to get him toward the center. So I'm not going to use Lazelle to do this. I'm going to use Dorvalent to do that. And the reason I'm going to do that is because of Hunter's Mark. And I'll show you that now. So he's just, this is the other thing that's important to remember, is the distance that your spells work at. Remember, most of them are 18 meters, which means that if you're standing at the front of one of these circles, you can reach to the opposite side. Okay? So that's important to know how far your spells are going to reach and that sort of stuff, because if you're standing back here at the back, you might not be able to target him. And if you're trying to get damage on him to get him to go a certain direction or to aggro on a particular person, you do not want to miss, or you don't want to be in a position where you can't land an attack. So always be aware of your surroundings and the order in which you're going to be using your characters to attack and cause damage. So we're going to go ahead and put and cast Hunter's Mark, and as soon as we do, okay, he did a threat assessment. Okay, and that threat assessment now targets my ranger as the prime target. You can see she's the prime target. Okay, so if you, the first person to damage him or to hit him, not necessarily damage him, but hit him every turn, is going to become the prime target. And that's important because you don't have to cause damage when you hit him. You just have to hit him. So if, for instance, my cleric cast Guiding Bolt, that was no damage, but if it hits, it's still going to drag, it's still going to draw the ire. It's still going to get the aggro. Okay? So that's the other reason I don't want to do it with Lazelle, is because Lazelle's going to have a smaller chance to hit, and she does not have a distance spell cast that can grab the aggro like my ranger can. So now that I've done this, I'm just going to get off, I'm going to try and get off a shot with an ice arrow. Ice he's vulnerable to when he's superheated, so there's a 50% chance to hit, so that's what we're going to try and take. Okay, so it missed, but it Bane triggered and he failed his saving throw. So now he's got Bane as well. And in the first turn, like I say, he's going to do an Awaken move. He's just going to come to life. So you don't have to do anything your first turn. You can just end the turn where it is. Okay. So he awakened, he didn't do anything, and now Lazelle can do a ranged attack as well, but see how much different her to hit chance is? So 75% chance she's going to miss. So that's another reason why you don't want to be relying upon her to draw the aggro here, is because there's no guarantee that she's going to hit on her turn and be able to drag the aggro to her. Okay? But any damage that she can get is bonus damage. Okay? So for now, you can see at the end of his turn, the aggro disappeared. Okay? It's no longer on either one of us. So now if I end the turn, now you can see nobody has the status effect of prime target. Okay? So now what we need to do is grab his aggro again And then he's going to, once the aggro is there, he's going to start moving toward us. Okay, so I'm going to try another arrow of ice. 56% chance to hit. Okay, and I did hit. So he did a threat assessment, and now I have the prime target condition. So because of that, I'm going to move down here. Right to the edge here. The reason I'm doing that is because it's almost in a straight line between me, the Crucible, and Grym. So when he starts moving towards me at, again, 12 meters per movement, he should end up somewhere around in here. And then we can trigger the forge to hit him. That's exactly what we want to have happen. Okay? So now we'll go ahead and end our turn and let him get his action in. Okay? So he's in the position that we want him to be in. And now what I'm going to do is move Lazelle just back a little bit. I want to get ready for something. Okay? But that's it. She's not going to do anything else on this turn. Sorry, just looking at a couple of things. Okay. Wonder if swapping this out. This is going to take her action to swap it out. But can she use it? No. Takes an action to use it. Okay. Alright. So now we're going to end this turn. Yes. Okay, so now the lava has disappeared. But he's still superheated for one more, or for 2 turns now. So now what we want to do is we want to trigger the forge lever. And this is going to use an action to do it.
Let's see.
Okay, so I got a pretty low roll on the damage. I only caused 90 some points of damage, but you can see it also crafted the Splint Armor here. Okay, so the craft completed when I did it, because we had the mold loaded in and we had the mithril loaded in. Once you hit him with it, you're also going to spawn mephits. And this is why you want to have Gale not in combat at the start of this. Okay? So the mephits are not going to attack this turn. And right now, Grym is prone, but every time he's prone, he has a chance to get himself back up using some movement points. So what we want to do is move who still has the aggro right now. You can see she still has the prime target. You want her to be moved back into
on my way.
The same spot over here. Okay. And now we can end her turn. Okay, the mephits are not going to attack the first turn, and now he's only going to move 6 meters. Okay.
Back to the hells.
So he moved only half of the distance he would normally be able to move. Did his AoE attack and knocked everybody to the ground, but you immediately stand back up and you see it uses half your movement to stand back up. So that's exactly what happened with him as well. So now what we want to do is we want to focus on these mephits here. And to do that, we want to get one ranged attack here. Okay, we instantly want to use our action surge. And we want to get another ranged attack here. Okay, so we've caused damage to 2 of them. And now we're going to use Gale. There's no lava out here, so Gale can move
step by step
wherever he wants to, as long as he doesn't cross into that detection cone. Okay, and we're going to move him up here. Into a position. We're going to see if he can get a magic missile that's going to be able to hit and kill them. So we're going to need 4 projectiles, so that means we're going to need a level 2, and this is within range, so he can get 1 here, 1 here, and 2 here, and hopefully kill all the methods. Perfect. Okay. And he's still standing on one of the areas that does not get flooded by lava. Right? Now, what we want to do is we need to focus on getting Grym's attention again. Okay? Now, at this point, there's nothing else that Lazelle can do here. So we'll end her turn. Now, Gale is... It skipped Gale, but Jorvalen is also here available to be used. So what we're going to do is we're going to move Gale back over here into this location. And try and actually... No, we're not. What we're going to do is we're going to move Jorvalen way back here. We're going to let him do his normal movement, which should take him somewhere over to here. And then we will have Gale in a position over here to drag his aggro back toward the center. So I think that's how we're going to play this. So she can't reach all the way back there right now because half of her movement is already gone from standing up. But trying to figure how I want to do this. Actually, what I think I'm going to do instead... Now, I'm going to have to get... I'm just planning it out in my head. So, she can't get into the position she wants to be in, which is way back here, because she doesn't have enough movement. But if she uses dash to get into movement, that uses her action. I'll still have a bonus action and I can cast Hunter's Mark. Okay, so that'll work. So I'm going to use dash, and I'm going to get myself into a position back here at the back of this. And now I'm going to cast Hunter's Mark again to grab his aggro. Okay. Again, she became the prime target of this again. And now she's done. So now Gale, I'm going to have him move and be up at the very front of this circle. Just in preparation for next turn, because he can get off a magic missile all the way to the back half of this, which is... And Grym shouldn't be standing any farther back than that, because he's not superheated right now. So he's only got half of that movement speed. Okay? So I think that gets me where we need to be for this turn. Let me make sure this is... Yeah, I think this is how we want to play it. Okay, so we'll end the turn. Grym's going to come towards me. Okay. So now I might not be able to hit him. I may have to move up to cause damage. Okay, and he's not going to move toward... He's not going to be able to move all the way back here. So... We've got some issues to deal with here in getting him in the correct place. But we'll see what we can do. We'll try and drag his... I'm just thinking through it here. Okay. So yeah, we're just gonna see if we can get a hit. Okay. So, did swap the threat assessment for now, but it doesn't matter because it's gonna reset at the start of the turn. So, we're ending the turn. Now Gale is first, which is what we wanted, but he's in a position where Gale's magic missile can't reach him. Okay, and we need to be very careful about using his movement to get out here. Because we can only use half of it because we're going to have to get back to that position as well. So let's just go out here. See if we can get magic missile. Can. Let's do a level 2. Okay, actually we're not. We're going to use this one because it's going to cause no damage when he casts it. Okay, but it does grab the aggro. And now we're going to move him back as far as we can.
Let's light them up.
And now
Sometimes the only
we're
way
going to
out is
take our
through.
ranger and we're going to misty step away. Okay, and we're going to misty step. This is going to use our bonus action to get out here. Okay, misty step does not get any negative reactions or instantaneous reactions. Okay, so she does not have enough movement to trigger this. That's not important though. We're going to get her moved all the way over here as far as she can. We're going to end her turn and we're going to end Gale's turn, and he should come after Gale. Okay. Alright. So, I don't know if he's close enough or not. We will see. So, what we're going to do here is just have Lazelle try and get some damage on him of any type. Okay, missed, but she's done. Okay, and now what I want to do is move Shadowheart, who again is not in combat yet. Shadowheart is going to move all the way around the back over here and go over toward the forge lever. Okay. Now he's not superheated, so he's not going to take any damage.
I wonder if this is worth the cost.
But let's have our ranger activate the lava valve. Okay, so now he's superheated, and now we will see if he's close enough to take damage from this or not.
My faith protects me.
So here we go. Okay, so that brought her into combat. Now he's only got 25 hit points left. Okay. So now we can really just start trying to bring all the damage that we possibly can onto him as fast as we possibly can onto him. Okay, so Here, this is interesting because he's no longer superheated while he's laying there. So that's going to end her turn. Gale, since he's no longer superheated, his magic missiles aren't going to do any damage. So he has Ray of Frost, which is not going to do any damage because he's not superheated. So I don't think at this point there's anything that he can do. It's kind of strange that he's not superheated anymore. Kind of strange. But we still need to drag his aggro, because right now he's not aggroed on anybody, and when he gets up, he needs to walk towards somebody. So we are going to use a first level magic missile just to get his aggro.
Tormentor.
Okay, and then we're going to move Gale all the way to the back of his circle. Okay, now Grym's going to get up and start moving. Okay, now we superheated. Now we just need to cause as much damage as we possibly can. Do it. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to brace here. Okay, and I'm just going to use a minute. Neither of these are going to do anything. Okay, but they have higher damage, so if he hits... Okay. So now she's the prime target. So I'm going to move her back and end the turn. Okay, now for the cleric. Again, none of these are going to do any damage. She doesn't have anything spell-wise that's going to do damage, but that's not really important for her. So Lazelle's the prime target right now.
Take two.
So we're going to make sure that she's healed up. Okay, and then end her turn.
Time to push my luck again.
Okay. So now the ranger is up. And we're going to move her as far back here as we can. And we're going to try and shoot another ice arrow here at him for a 70% chance to hit. Okay, caused a lot of damage, so he's only got 5 hit points left. Right?
Battle of wits.
And now Gale with a level 2 magic missile
Tormentor.
should be able to get the kill. Okay. Now he's dead. The lava disappears. Right? So now we get to see if it's bugged or not. And we'll be able to find that out pretty quick. So
Let's move.
the first thing that we're going to do is move in here and loot Grym. Okay, and you get the Grym skull. Right? And now we're going to have Lazelle come up and pick up the Splint Armor. Okay, and you can see that the mold closed. She is going to immediately put the Splint Armor on. It's a straight upgrade over the Githyanki half plate. It's the same armor class, but it also gives the reeling attack for anybody who hits her with a melee attack. Okay, so it is just a straight upgrade for it. And now she is going to open up the mold. Okay, so the splint mold she can pick up. Now she can interact with the mold chamber again. And put the scimitar mold. And now our ranger can interact with the crucible and insert the second piece of mithril ore. Okay, and now you want again everybody to not be standing on lava. Okay, so
Ready and willing.
just to make sure, we're going to move everybody around here. And we're going to move Rowland back over here. Everybody should be good. So now we're going to bring some more lava into this place. And we're going to have Shadowheart trigger the forge lever. Now you should see the mold open up again and the adamantine scimitar is there. Now if the lava disappears, it's not bugged. If the lava does not disappear, then it's bugged. Okay? So in this case it's bugged because you can see the timer for the lava is not going down. Alright? Now there's a lot of theories behind why this is bugged. Okay? People talk about how Grym weighs 5,000 kilograms and he's sitting on top of the crucible. It's not that at all. The crucible came back up, and you know he wasn't weighing it down. But the reason this is a problem is if I get Lazelle to go out here and pick up the adamantine scimitar. She's going to walk straight out there. Looks like she goes through the lava, but she doesn't. She's going to pick it up. This is going to close. Now you can actually eject the mold. And it's going to be melting, and you can pick it up. Okay. Now you can hide and see that she's not going to be able to get back there. So you can just jump, get her back over here safe. Okay. So you did manage to craft it. So you got the adamantine scimitar, you've got both of the molds that you want, and those can go back to your camp because you no longer need them. Okay? She can put the Everburn blade back on because she doesn't need the Faith Breaker anymore. Right? And the adamantine scimitar is going to go over to my ranger. Right? So now what? Okay, well, normally there's now no lava out here. The lava timer's gone down. And you can group everybody back up, and there's this button right here. It says platform control.
Whatever comes,
you can click this button,
Don't budge.
and it will take you, it will take the entire forge back to the upper level so that you can jump off. And you can get back into the main area of the Grym Forge. But since the lava is bugged, you can't do that. Okay? Because it says that the platform, it won't budge here. And there's, like I say, a lot of reasons why people think this bugs out. Okay? But no one really knows why it is. Some people say it's all because you killed Grym and he was sitting in front of the crucible doors. Or all sorts of weird, strange theories about it. But it's not. It's simply because at some point or another, the lava here does not disappear like it should. The timer just breaks for some reason. Okay? So what we're going to do is we can save this. See, we'll just save over the previous one, which was here. Yeah. Okay, and we're going to load up a save that's right here. Everything about this save is exactly the same as far as the characters go and the fight goes as what we just left. We've already hit Grym with the Forge Hammer once. We've already killed the Mephits. We've already lured Grym back to the center position of the forge. Okay? He's just waiting to get hit. So everything else about this is exactly the same. So let's see what happens here. Okay? So that's just a visual thing with the lava. That with it respawning. It was always there, it just drew it again. Okay, so now I'm going to have
Time to strike.
Lazelle, or actually I'm not.
Still breathing, despite everything.
Jorvalin's turn and everything like that. We're just going to get some more hits in here because Lazelle is the one who's over here and she's going to trigger the Forge Hammer here in a second. Okay, so threat assessment shifted here, but it doesn't matter.
Swords meet sorcery.
Gale, again, doesn't matter. Can just get off some shots.
Tormentum.
Okay. Now we're going to end the turn. The lava is going to disappear, and this is the only difference between the two playthroughs. Is that right now the lava is gone when we're going to kill Grym. Previously, Grym was superheated, but the lava was also out here, and then the lava disappeared after we killed him because the timer ran out. Okay? But now the lava's gone. We're going to hit the forge lever, and it killed him. Okay? Now look, he's sitting right on top of the crucible.
Too soon.
Right? Right on top of it. Okay, so we're going to go over and we're going to search Grym. Take the Grym skull. Now we can go in here and add our second piece of mithril. Okay, successfully inserted. We can move
Best be on my
her out
way.
of the way. Where's Shadowheart? Okay, Shadowheart's back here in the back.
We're a long way from Waterdeep.
Now we're going to have Lazelle come up, eject the mold. Okay. Now she's going to put the new mold in. Okay, and now everything is ready to go again. So now we're going to have Gale
Direct me.
trigger the lava valve.
Looking ahead.
And then we're going to have our ranger bring down the forge lever. It does it again. And now the lava disappears. Okay. So there's a bug in here that probably depends upon a very specific set of circumstances. And my thought
Moving in.
is that it has something to do with the state of the lava on the ground when the encounter ends. That's my guess. I've played through it a dozen times or so, and that's the only difference that I've been able to find, is that at the time I killed Grym, there was no lava on the ground. So at the time the encounter ended, having no lava was the normal state for the ground out here. But when there is lava on the ground and you kill him, it might set somehow that that's the normal state for the ground. And when the timer ends the first time, you trigger the lava the second time, and it thinks that's the standard way it should be, and it thinks that's the normal ground effect, and it won't let the lava disappear. Okay? Those are purely guesses on my part. Like I say, everybody has their own guesses about it, but what I can tell you is that it has nothing to do with whether or not Grym is sitting on top of the forge or not. Because obviously that has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with whether or not he's in front of the crucible door, because last time he was, and it didn't work. So trust me when I say it has nothing to do with any of those things. I think it more has to do with the status of the lava on the ground when the encounter ends. But that's why it's good to save right before the fight starts, and then save periodically as you go through the fight, so that you can time things a little bit to your advantage. And if it doesn't work with the killing blow, you can restart something else. You don't have to go all the way through where you were to get back to the point where you can kill him.
Still alive.
So
that's
now I'm just going to group everybody together over here
Quite ready for you.
and get
No one's
everybody
stopped me
grouped
yet.
back up, and you'll be able to see how this normally works. Once you toggle the group here, you hit the platform control button. Okay. The only difference here is that the lava is not on the ground. That is what's causing the platform control button to not work,
Can't give up now.
is the fact that there's lava on the ground. It doesn't have anything to do with him being here or being in a specific position or anything like that. The lava on the ground prevents the platform from going up. Okay?
Never wanted the easy path.
So that's how you can tell if things are going to work or not. So that's the Grimforge fight. So what happens if you are down there and you are bugged and the lava's on the ground, it won't disappear and you can't get back up? What do you do? Okay. Well, it's actually really easy. However, you need to think about what you're doing. You collected a whole bunch of splint molds. There are 6 different items you can craft. Right now in the game, there's only 2 mithril ore, but that doesn't mean in the full access of the game, there might not be a lot more mithril ore in other places throughout the game that you can find, and then return here and craft some more. Okay? So if the forge is bugged, you don't want to leave it bugged. However, if you've gotten to this point in the early access, and you still have other things in the early access that you want to experiment with and that you want to do, you can leave it bugged because there's no other mithril ore in it, and you can get out of this area really easily. And that's just by going to your map and clicking on any one of these waypoints. These allow you to fast travel directly to that waypoint. So I can click the Underdark Ancient Forge, and it takes me right back up here. Okay? So it's really easy to get out of that area if you need to. You just have to fast travel out of it. But in the full version of the game, you probably don't want to leave the forge bugged. Hopefully they've got that bug worked out by the time the full version of the game comes out, but if they haven't, you don't want to leave it down there. So if it bugs out, you want to replay it until it does not bug. And that way you can leave normally with the forge at the upper level here, so you can come down and maybe craft again later on if you find more mithril ore in the full version of the game. Okay? So that kind of finishes off the fight, tells you about the mechanics of it. I am going to change out the adamantine scimitar here for the Sword of Screams. The Sword of Screams by itself does 6 to 16, and this only does 5 to 10. However, I'll be able to add a second weapon on it, and that second weapon is going to be the First Blood short sword, so I can get some extra damage on full health targets, and dual wielding is going to be more than single wielding the Sword of Screams. So I can send this to our camp. Now, here the Grimskull Helm has adamantine backlash, the same thing that it has on the armor here. This is intense adamantine backlash. The only difference is that reading lasts for 3 turns, as opposed to the Grimskull where it only lasts 2 turns. Okay? But if you're going to get somebody into a melee situation, then them wearing the the Grimskull Helm can send them reeling for 2 turns. Okay, so it can be something useful to use at the start of if you're getting a melee character into a fight. But with Lazelle, I don't need it because she's already going to be getting, when she gets hit, they're going to get reeled for 3 turns as opposed to just 2. Okay, so I'm going to leave this for now, here on my Ranger. Again, I'm going to swap out the Everburn blade back into where it needs to be. I'm going to send this Githyanki half-plate back to the camp, as well as all of these other weapons. Okay. I can send these keys that I don't need back to the camp. And one of those was the Harper's key. Because remember, there's the Harper stash. Well, if you remember, we've already done the Harper stash. That was the chest that was surrounded by the mimics down there. That key simply unlocks it, so you don't have to lockpick it. So that's why the Harper stash is marked on our map, but we've already gotten it. We've already collected it. Because we went down and fought the mimics instead of just going over and unlocking. Okay. So we don't need to do anything like that. We're fully complete here in the Underdark. So as far as content goes, there's only one other thing left to do in the early access so far. You can see that there's waypoints that say Path to the Moonrise Towers, Githyanki Patrol, and all that sort of stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the Grove. And we're going to go through and do some selling of items here. But looking at the map up here, you can see the quest items are Githyanki Patrol and Path to Moonrise Towers. Okay? There is eventually going to be a path to Moonrise Towers through the Underdark, as we've discussed with the Druids. And part of that way to do that is with the Moon Lantern. We have to be able to repair the Moon Lantern to be able to see our way through the Underdark passage to get to Moonrise Towers. There's no way in the early access right now to repair this. It's just part of your inventory now. But at some point there will be a way forward, a path forward through the Underdark for you to continue to the Moonrise Towers. So right now there's nowhere else that we can go. Everything just leads us to a dead end that says this is the end of early access. Feel free to explore other areas. Okay. So for now, all of the questing and that sort of stuff, well, not the questing, but all of the content inside the early access is done.
For us all to recover.
Except for the Githyanki Patrol fight. Okay. So now we're going to look at this here. There's nothing that I want her to sell. For him, we can sell off these masks. We can sell off as many of these halberds as we can. It looks like we're only going to be able to sell one. Okay. And for her, there's nothing we want her to sell off right now either. Okay, just taking one more quick look. And that's it for now. Okay.
May you keep balance.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to head to the Myconid colony. We're going to sell off the last of our stuff. And then we're going to get over to the Blighted Village and get into a position to deal with the Githyanki Patrol. And this one I'm definitely going to save. There may be a reload. It kind of depends how things work. But for now, we're going to go to Dareth and we're going to trade off the last of our items.
No point in lingering now I've got the noble stock.
And what that really entails is these two halberds. Worth a lot of money, and we obviously can't use them. So, nothing else? No. We can
Have I got everything then?
free up a little bit more by splitting these, only keeping 5 of them, and splitting the disarm kits. Or are. And how many do we want to keep?
Bob's died down.
Probably want to keep 3 of those at the most. Okay, and now we can move these over to Gale and he can sell these. There's nothing else that we want her to sell.
That then. We'll be clearing out soon enough. No point in lingering now. I've got the noble stock.
Okay, so we'll just go to Gale and we'll sell these. And that's just to clear up carry weight, really.
This'll do
Okay,
wonders
so
for the shop.
now we're going to go to the map and we're going to go over to the Blighted Village. And heading west is heading out this way. No. We didn't need the Blighted Village. We need Joaquin's Rest, not the Blighted Village. And now we need to head west, which is this way. Okay. Now, once we get to this spot here, we're going to take a long rest. Want to be fully up to strength when we go into this. Okay. So while we're in here, we have some conversations that we want to deal with. We have all the regular people. Withers is here. Scratch is here. Bolo is here. And Alson is here. And we can go through some of those conversations, but let's check all of our NPCs first. So let's start with Lazelle.
Speak.
Okay, so nothing new for her. Will.
Well met.
Same thing. That always resets. His conversations don't disappear like they should.
Yes.
Okay, now Asterion has some history to go through.
Why do you insist on exhuming the past? I was a slave. A vampire spawn. Kept by the Tsar family. Perhaps I still am. I was never able to resist their commands. But now, I've been conveniently lost. They won't ever control me again.
Okay, so that's it for him. And now Gale. Gale's got an extended conversation that he wants to have with us.
Ah, good evening to you. I take it you're here to pick me up on that bedtime story you were promised. Actually, before we move on to the story, there's something I'd like you to consider. You spent the other night with someone else, and I hope it was all you wanted it to be, but we shared a romantic moment of the mind while cloaked in the weave, didn't we? Perhaps that's a moment we ought to further explore. Allow me to make the following proposition. There's a book that circulates in Arm detailing the first 1,000 nights of a newlywed king and queen. They turned everything they did into an art. The art of conversation, the art of taste, time-honored and newly acquired. The art of the body, the exploration and acceptance of the self and the other, the art of the night itself. I say, we take a page from their book.
Okay, so he obviously doesn't want to give up on what we have had together. So, okay, sorry, I'm looking at something on YouTube. I hope the preview is not what you all are actually seeing. OBS shows that I've got a really good connection. YouTube shows that I've got a really good connection, but the preview is having some serious issues. Here, it's showing frame skipping and degraded quality, so I hope that's not what you're seeing. I can't find anything else inside of the stream diagnostics that says it's having any issues. Grym health appears to be excellent. So let's just hope that it's going okay. So from here we have some options, but I'm not going to go against Shadowheart here.
I see. She's a lucky woman. Loyalty is such a very rare commodity. Apologies. I really did think you and but no. Perhaps it's for the better. In fact, I'll let you be the judge of that. After all, I still have a story to tell. It's a story full of answers long overdue. It is the story of a man who fell in love with a goddess. Thank you. Once upon a time, not quite that long ago, there lived a wizard in a tower. The wizard was what one might call a prodigy, who from an early age could not only control the weave, but compose it, like a musician or a poet. Such was his skill that it earned him the attention of the mother of magic herself, the Lady of Mysteries, Mystra. Love. Perhaps it was not quite love, but you see, the wizard was but a very young man. It was most certainly love to him. Mystra showed him the secrets beneath the veils. The gossamer veils first, draped across the weave. The delicate veils next, draped across her body. Chosen one, she whispered. She slipped them off completely. Yes, until one day, all too soon, the whispers stopped. Goddess spurned the mortal. The veils were drawn once more, and the wizard was left behind, heartbroken. Like so many of the heartbroken, he did something infinitely foolish. One has to think big if one seeks to win back a goddess. So the wizard thought big. Here goes. Once upon a time, very long ago, a mighty lord lived in a tower. A flying tower, to be precise. I'll save his story for another time, but the gist of it is that he sought to usurp the goddess of magic so that he could become a god himself. He almost managed, but not quite. And his entire empire, Netheril, came crashing down around him as he turned to stone. The magic unleashed that day was phenomenal. Rolling like the prime chaos that outdates creation. A fragment of it was caught and sealed away in a book. No ordinary book, mind you. A tome of gateways that contained within it a bubble of astral plane. It was a fragment of primal weave locked out of time. Locked away from Mystra herself. What if, the silly wizard thought, what if after all this time, I could return this lost part of herself to the goddess? The answer was to try, and the outcome was to fail. Here. Place your hand over my heart. Let me show you.
You feel the tadpole quiver as Moonrise Gale is letting you into the dark. You see through Gale's eyes, staring down the corridors of a dread memory. A book, bound, then suddenly opened. Inside there are no pages, only a swirling mass of blackest weave that pounces. Its teeth, its claws, it's unstoppable as it digs through you and becomes part of you. And gods, is it ever hungry?
Terrifying, isn't it? And that is only the beginning. This netherese taint, this orb, for lack of a better word, is balled up inside my chest. And it needs to be fed. As long as it absorbs weave, it remains stable, to an extent. The moment it becomes unstable, however, it will erupt. I don't know the exact magnitude of the eruption, but given my studies of Netherese magic, I'd say even a fragment as small as the one I carry, it'd level a city the size of Waterdeep. It is my truth, finally revealed. It is this folly that led Mystra to abandon me completely. I can only hope that you won't abandon me as well. After all we've been through, surely we can brave even this side by side. That is a great relief. Oh, a great relief indeed. It is an honor to call you a friend. Many challenges lie ahead, but in this moment I believe nothing to be insurmountable. What do you say? Should we call it a night? Or do you have questions for me? I'll be honest with you. I don't know. She's my muse still, the embodiment of magic. But the embodiment of love? Only if we ever meet again will I know. The orb was kept safe and inert in a pocket of astral plane, suspended in time. If I can somehow manage to expel it from my body while in the astral plane, it will be rendered inert again. Alternatively, I could learn to control its chaotic magic. That is, to succeed where I failed before. But without Mistra's favor, I don't see how that may come to pass. Of course, there could be different answers as well. Faerun brims with more magic than any one wizard could fathom, let alone comprehend. Who knows what outlandish solutions may yet present themselves. Good night, then. And thank you.
Okay, so a lot of information from Gale there. Going through our quest book, you can see that we completed the Adamantine Forge. We started Help the Cursed Monk. That was from the amulet that we found. And we added on to the Wizard of Waterdeep quest. So now we can go to Shadowheart.
Shah's blessings upon you. Fine. What's on your mind? I suppose some would commend our actions. Goblins would have razed that whole place to nothing if it weren't for us. No excuse to rest on our laurels, though. We've still got our own problems to contend with.
Okay, so all this is the same stuff that we had available to us last time. So now we can talk to Volo. Hold on. Sorry. Gotta deal with something here. Not that real life intruded. My one of my cats decided to get near the PC, and the last thing I need is for her to be shutting things off and ending the stream. So had to deal with an emergency real quick, and there she goes again. I don't know why she's doing this today. Sorry to interrupt everything. I apologize. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk to Volo here.
Yes, my friend? I was just settling in and reviewing my latest findings. Mind flayers, cultists, and, of course, your esteemed company. Why, I'm practically an expert. They've tentacles, you know. Quite shocking. The druid Halson had some kind of mind flare specimen in a jar in his quarters. A replica, no doubt, but truly fascinating to see up close. As a matter of fact, I do. But why do you? That can't be? You're mad! But tell me, have you noticed any residual psionic malaise since the alleged encounter? That's quite impossible. You'd have undergone ceramorphosis by now. I can't attest to the specifics, but I do know that not long after insertion, the host, that's you, turns into a mind flayer. As there's not a tentacle on your head, I can only assume you haven't been infected. If what you say were true, you'd be a mind flayer by now. You? Infected by a mind flayer? Ridiculous! Isn't it? Perhaps that's for the best. I'd be irresponsible not to debunk such a strange claim. If I just peer in your eye, I could quickly... Oh, my dear, sweet gods! I mean, yes. I suppose I can. I'll need to research the particulars, however. Give me a bit of time, and I'll have this little issue sorted.
Okay, so he gives you the Blazer of Benevolence, which is an item for bards, obviously, because Bolo being one himself. But whenever you use Bardic Inspiration, you gain 4 temporary hit points. So it's an average type of armor for bards to wear. But since we do not have a bard in our party, we're obviously not going to be using it, so we'll just send it to camp. Okay. And now we're going to go over here to the chest. We're going to pick out our secondary weapon here. Which is going to be Speedy Reply. And we're also going to pick out some items for our camp supplies, so that should be 36. Now we can pick up something that has 4, so we can split the garlic. 2. That should give us 40. Okay, then we're going to go equip. It's not Speedy Reply that we wanted. Where's the short sword? There it is. Short sword of First Blood is what we want. So then Speedy Reply goes away. The short sword of First Blood goes in secondary. So now against, we got 1d6 and 1d6 plus 4. And then we also have 1d8 if they have all of their hit points to begin with. So that's the way we're going to go about keeping our secondaries. Now we want to see if Halsin is bugged. Sometimes this conversation is bugged and you won't actually be able to get into a conversation with him. It'll stay zoomed out like this. Yeah, it's like this. So I don't know what causes this. I know when it started to happen, but I don't know what in particular might have caused it. If you right click, it will get you to all of these things, but you can't listen to what he's saying. There's no subtitles or anything for you to be able to read what he's saying. So there's no point in going through any of this because you're not going to learn anything about it. So we're going to leave it for now. We're going to go ahead and take a long rest. Get an auto select for 40, get a full rest. Okay. And now we're going to get ready for this fight. So, whoops, first thing we want to do is get protection on... No? Okay. Swap that back out. Okay, now the best way to go about doing this is make sure that you have your invisibility options available to you. So I'm going to swap out Lifebringer, which gives me 3 temporary hit points if I have lightning charges, for the Shroud, so I can be able to cast invisibility without using an invisibility potion. I have one here. I don't have any over for any of these. And I do want to make sure that I have a potion of here on Gale. Okay. Second thing is you want to make sure that everybody has potions of speed. Okay, I have 2 potions of speed on everybody. You are definitely going to need them. Absolutely going to need them. And then I want 1 wyvern poison on Lazelle. Okay. And the other 2 I'm going to leave on Jorvalen here. Okay, and I think that gets me about what I need. You're going to use, and the Iron Flask I'm going to leave on Shadowheart. The Iron Flask can be very, very useful here. I'll show you why. So for now,
all's well that ends not as bad as it could have.
And I am going to get my familiar out. And I'm going to save. Okay, now the first thing you can do, see that we have Elika up here.
What are you doing? Hold up before they see you, Gresham. What? Apart from the dragon? Look. That lot are swarming all over the bridge. I don't know what they want, but it can't be good. I'm going to find another way around. You ought to do the same. I doubt a fight against them would go your way. Nobody. Just another harassing fool trying to stay alive. There's plenty of us around. What? Just follow you around? I go my own way. Alone.
Okay.
That's it. I'm getting out of here.
So now I'm going to hide almost everybody.
Elminster's not around, so might as well.
Okay, so Gale, I'm going to move up to position here. Put him in hiding, and Shadowheart is carrying the flask. I'm going to move her over here. And she's in hiding. Now, I choose to do this encounter with Lazelle in my party. The reasons for that are not just role-playing, in that this is her patrol that she's going to be encountering, but also because she has the highest strength in the party, and that can be very useful during this fight when it comes to executing certain attacks. but she also does the most singular damage against a single target than anybody else in my party. So I bring her along, but if you bring her along, you are going to be in a situation where she separates from your party. She is going to leave your party and go down here on her own once you get the party a certain distance down this ramp. So it's best to, and then you will have to take another character down there because she will not even be in your party list anymore. Then you will have to take another character down there to execute the cutscene with the patrol. So what I choose to do instead is to split the party up here, get them into some positions, some basic positions right now, and then I will take Lazelle down by herself and execute the cutscene here. Okay? There are multiple ways that this cutscene can progress, but there's only one outcome, and that outcome's bad. It's real bad, as you will see. And again, now that I'm here, I'm going to overwrite this save and save here, because this fight depends upon your roll for your dexterity roll at the start for who goes first, and why I can't remember that word. Advantage. Is it? No. I cannot remember that D&D term for what it is. I'm sure I'll hear about it in the comments. But anyway, if your character does not roll good on initiative, that's what it is. If your character does not roll well on initiative, then every one of the patrol members is going to get an attack on you and you're not going to survive it. And things are just going to end. You want to be able to roll initiative high enough that you can survive the initial attack. If you survive the initial attack and you get a turn, then the rest of your characters who are not in combat can act, and that will then help turn the tide. But if they die right off the bat, it's just a reload and a restart. Okay? The other option is to take all of your characters down there at once, so that possibly you get one character who's able to roll high in initiative, but then everybody has to retreat. Because literally these characters can one-shot. Some of these characters can one-shot you. And you don't have a chance to do it. So you could walk down there with all four of your party members, and 2 or 3 of them could be dead before you even get initiative. So it's just not worth it for me. I think the best way to do this is simply to save before you're done, go down there, see what your initiative roll is, and see if you can survive the first set of attacks. And then have one character who can use an invisibility potion to retreat out of the area and let your other non-combat characters get into a position to trigger combat. Okay, so that's how I tend to do it. So let's just walk down here and...
Drop your weapons!
I'll feed your innards to the ants before I do that, Istik.
This is your last chance!
No, look up. That was your last chance, Istik. Now burn!
Stop wasting time, Beretta. You're not here to play with the locals.
Of course, Kithrak. We merely sought to...
No excuses. Question, kill, then move on. Find the weapon. Our queen watches us. Fail her at your peril.
Okay.
Facing that lot would be suicide. At least for now.
And that's what happens at this point in the early access. Okay? She's telling you that this really is a gateway encounter. That you need to be a higher level before you attempt this encounter. Okay? Now, Kodenos doesn't have a hit point bar. Kithrak Voss does not have either. The others do. So Sarth Baretha is a warrior. She is a fighter. Githyanki Gish, Raider, and there's a fourth one that does not appear to be visible right now.
Keep looking.
So Gish, yeah, there's a fourth one that's not visible right now. I think he's just behind the rock and I can't see him yet. But they all have different abilities. There's also there's a magic user down here, and this is your rogue here. This is another fighter and a fighter. So you're dealing with, I think it's actually one fighter and a barbarian, and then a rogue and a wizard. And these two don't have hit point bars, which kind of tells you they're not going to be involved in the fight, and you'll see that here in a minute. So now that we've done the cutscene, I'm going to overwrite the save as well. And now I can lead in here with... Oh.
Objective noted.
I expect you to...
Ryder, my time is short. Lead me to...
Shh. Such a familiar tone. Were I not merciful, I would slice the skin clean from your meat. Yet you are not bleeding, for I am nothing if not merciful. Your name, child?
Lazelle.
Lazelle. Proud, regal, Eve. A Gith vessel has fallen from the sky, Lazelle. Thieves aboard have taken a weapon most precious. Take word to your creche. You are to join our search. Speak up, child. Affirm your mandate.
Chuk. My mandate, honored Kithrak, is to locate this creche. I was infected aboard a Gith ship and need to be purified. Your mandate is to aid me.
Purified? Oh, Lazelle. Why must the truth be so bitter? Soon your skin will go grey, and your blood will run silver. You will shed your skin to become Gith. Only in death are the infected cleansed. You will give me the weapon. Then you will bend your head for my sword.
Stand down, knight. I do not have what you seek.
Our queen's word binds me. Baretha, see her skull split and her corpse examined, on Vlakith's command. I will take word to the others. Our quest has ended. To Danos, to the sky!
Okay, so now we see how well we roll on initiative. Okay, we rolled halfway down on initiative. Okay, so Lazelle's already dead. Okay. So at this point, all they're gonna do is kill her, and combat's ended. See? So now you've lost a character and combat basically starts over and you're one character short. And this is what I mean by how horrifically hard this is. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down here again and we're going to just skip through the dialogue and start the combat over. This is not meant to be done at your level. This is a gateway encounter that is meant to keep you from going any farther in the game until you've progressed to a certain level. It's the same as we've seen in previous Baldur's Gate games. Don't want you exploring new areas until they think you're going to be able to survive in those levels. So to do that, you're supposed to be able to pass this without dying. And if we weren't level capped, if we were able to take all that XP that we've gotten. Okay, so I'm second here, and he missed with the first one. Okay. So here I can escape and get out of the way. Okay, so I have a chance to act now. Okay. But what I was saying was that if we would have been able to take all of that XP that we've gained since our level cap and apply it to our characters, we would be well above the current level that we are right now. And we would be able to fight this fight in a much fairer method than where we are right now. Okay? But right now, we just simply aren't there. We're not at that level. So, so what I want to do is, first, I'm going to use my potion of invisibility, and I'm going to leave this fight. Okay. That simply means I'm going to exit back up here to the top.
No time to waste.
All right. So now I'm going to look at my other characters here and get them into combat. So who we have next to go is... And we're just looking at... Okay, so this one's the one that's already gone. So this one's last. Aretha is one after this. And then we have another one who's not visible right now. That's because you can see they're invisible. They have a status effect of invisible. Okay, so they're going to act first next turn, but we can't do anything to really damage them because we don't even know where they are. But right now, I think they're back here. But I think they're back in. That's why my path is arcing around them, around that particular spot, I think. But can't be entirely sure. You can move it around and see if your arc moves around at any other locations, and it doesn't look like it. So I think they are back here. So for now, what we're going to do is get our other characters into the fight. Okay, and we're going to start that off with Shadowheart. We're going to move her right up here to the edge. Okay. We're going to go into our inventory, and we're going to take the iron flask, and we're going to throw it. Now, if you inspect this item, you have an option to pull the stopper on it. And in that case, you don't destroy it. It just lets what's inside out, and you are standing right next to it. That's obviously the way that you want to do it, and then you can keep the iron flask. And in tabletop D&D, you could reuse that iron flask to recapture a creature from another plane and store it in there. In this case, because we're not going anywhere else through the game or anything, and I'm not entirely sure that the iron flask works that way in Baldur's Gate 3, we're just going to throw it. So you can see that we can attempt to throw it all the way down here to the bottom. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to throw it down here and kind of try and maybe position it in a spot down here. Okay. And the spectator has now come out. And Shadowheart is still not in the fight. So I'm going to bring her back around, and I'm going to get her into combat by healing Lazelle. Because Lazelle desperately needs to be healed. Okay, so I'm going to keep her hidden. I'm going to move her all the way down here. Okay. Now Lazelle can actually move back a little bit farther, and I want her to do that. Okay. Now, Shadowheart cannot heal Lazelle since she's invisible. Okay, so if she goes to cast Healing Word or something, there's no way to target Lazelle because she is invisible. Okay, but I can get Lazelle to use one of her bonus items. Sure. And that's a potion of greater healing. Okay, so that got her 13 hit points back. Right, she still has an action, but she's not close enough at any point to move back up there and cast anything. So I don't think she's able to shoot anybody. Yeah, from here. She actually is. So let's look at some other options here. So I definitely want to take out this raider here. But he's already had his turn. So I'm going to try and focus on this Gish at this location. So let's see. So I don't want to obviously move there. Okay. Oh. If I can shoot at Beretha from here. So I think I'm actually going to shoot this at her. It's a 70% chance to hit. That's going to knock both of them back. Okay. And now my Raven want to get in a position to absorb any hits that might come in toward her. So I'm going to move my Raven all the way up to the front. And I'm going to disable the hide so that it instantly goes into combat. Okay. Now Gale. Okay, Gale has a special opportunity here. And that's because I want him to block this ladder. Not necessarily block it, but I want him to be in a position where he can cause damage to anybody who wants to climb up it. And in doing that, I'm going to put a storm of daggers down here by it. Or a cloud of daggers down here by it. And I need to get into a position to do that. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure how I can do that. Might be able to do it from down here. Okay. So he needs to cast it like right here. He doesn't want to hit the ladder, but he does want to move up far enough to cast it somewhere close.
On my honor.
Okay, and he's not in combat yet. which is not what I wanted. Bad. I didn't want that to happen because I wanted them to notice the cloud of daggers. And it would put him in combat down there, but it didn't. So Cloud of Daggers only has 3 turns left, and he had to move into a position to get himself into combat, which means it moved him into the front lines, and they're definitely going to go kill Gale. So that was just not bright to do. So now I think... Okay, so I've got a 50% chance on this. Okay, so I didn't kill him. I don't want to use my action surge yet. And I am going to have Shadowheart heal her up. Okay. And now she's in combat as well. Oh. Alright, well, we will see what happens. Hopefully they will go after the spectator. Yeah, Gale's gonna be dead. He cast Dispel Magic. Interesting. Okay, so we definitely want to kill him. He's a priority. So, use Hunter's Mark on him. Should be able to... It's only a 49% chance to hit. Not a great chance. But we'll take it.
Shouldn't have made me your enemy.
Okay, good. And now we're going to move back away from the edge. There's a reason for that.
Wonder if the gods are watching me.
Okay. Now they're going to get all their chances to go after Gale. Because Gale is at the very end of the tree here. Oh, he is asleep. Okay. Well, they're still going to go after him, even though he's asleep. So hopefully they go after the spectator. Oh, the spectator is not in combat. Okay, well, I really should start this over because for some reason the spectator is not in it's not in combat. I do not know why that is. They just never noticed it. Which is very, very, very strange. Okay. So, not enough movement to get here yet. But, if I click heal... No, if I just dash... No, shoves up... Yeah, so I want to dash. What I really want to do, though, is take a potion of speed. Okay, so now double movement speed. And I can dash with my action. Because I want to be able to get around here. And I want to get the spectator in the fight, so I'm going to... doggone it. Okay. I can do it with a pushing attack. Hey, maybe not there. Okay, I can do it here. Okay, so now the spectator's in combat. Okay, but see, that is one of the reasons that I want Lazelle in the fight, because knocking somebody off of this high perch gives them a lot of damage. It's anywhere from like 30 to 45 points of damage when they hit the ground. So you definitely want to use this height to your advantage here. And where's he in the... So he's already gone. So I would prefer, actually, that he be dead. But no, I'm not going to use my bonus action, or my action surge just yet. I am going to move out of the way, though. Yeah, Gale's gonna die. Yeah, that's just how it is. Okay, good. She went after my Raven. So help is an action. So I'm going to get the... Looking. See, trying how to do this. I think Gale's just dead. I can get Gale up. But the question is going to become, is it worth it? Because when I do that, I'm going to be putting her in the middle of the combat fight. Oh. Is there any way... Okay, so I can go down to the bottom step here and cast this. And Healing Word is a bonus action. How about I dash? Go down here, cast Healing Word.
Take you.
Okay, get Gale up, and now come back up here.
Heading there.
Okay. She still has some left, so I'm going to get her over. Now, Gale's up. He should be able to dash. I can't. Okay. So he doesn't have an action here. He cannot take an action. He's not going to be able to get very far away. Can do a reflective shell. He might as well if somebody wants to shoot at him. Well... It's not going to matter if he takes a healing action. His only hope is to get way the heck away, and he can't really do that because he can't get around behind any cover. Might be able to kind of stay in here, but whoever's out here is going to be able to reach him. I think one of these invisible ones, this one. Oh no, that's her over there. Beretha's up there with me. He's the one that's almost dead. So, maybe Gale can survive. Let's take a potion of healing. Let's move him way back here. End his turn, and now we're here. Now, Beretha is in a bad spot for her to be in. Okay? So what I'm going to do is move to here. Yeah, I'm going to move to here.
Breathe deep and move.
Attempt to shove her off the cliff. Only a 50% chance. It worked. 43 points of damage. And now I'm going to attempt to kill this guy who's next. Okay, and to do that, I think I'm going to use an arrow of...
I'll strike you down.
Oh! Great. Yeah, perfect. Love it. Love every minute of it. So stupid. So stupid. Ugh. Okay, so I'm going to end the turn. He's going to get up.
More scherza. Te curo.
Okay. Now, Beretha's still down there, but Beretha has a Misty Step.
My path be true.
So I'm going to... Okay, and now I'm going to attempt... Okay, good. Knocked him out. And now I'm going to again move her back away from the edge. Okay, because I don't want them throwing things up here. And I don't want the spectators seeing me and attempting to come up here either. Okay, so Beretha is both frightened and prone at this point. But what I want to do is get everybody up here healed back up.
Let me see your wounds. Take cure.
Okay, and then have her move back.
A tale for the ages.
Then Gale. So I'm going to have Gale dash. Get him back up top. Okay, it's too long for him to go around this way, so I want to get him back up top where he can possibly get over here and maybe cast some magic missiles over here, something like that. So he's gonna take another healing potion. Okay. And now my ranger again. So we're gonna reapply Hunter's Mark. They should really be going after her.
Maybe I should... This is good.
Okay, and then I'm going to brace. Going to take a shot. Okay, big hit. Down to 10 hit points left. And then I'm going to again move as far back away from the edge as I can.
Victory awaits.
Okay, Lazelle can come and try and do a ranged menacing attack. Killed her. Perfect. Now, don't have any superiority die left. We're just going to try a piercing shot. Low % chance to hit, but While we're here, let's just bring it. Got a hit. We'll roll higher damage. And it missed. Okay. Yep. That's why you don't want to be close to the edge. Okay. So now what we need to start doing is kind of focusing on both of them. We don't want the spectator left around at the end of this fight either. So what we want to do is cure wounds here.
Take cure.
We're going to do it one more time.
Take cure.
We're going to move her back out of the way.
Allow me to demonstrate.
Now Gale is here. So I think Gale is just going to dash again. He's going to have to get over here. So it might have been better for him to have, when he retreated, instead of going this way, to retreat back up this way. Because he needs to get over here to be in a position to cast magic missile and that sort of stuff down here. Right, so. Okay. We're going to reapply Hunter's Mark, but this time I think... Now we're going to put it on the Raider. The Raider can dish out more damage in a particular time, but we are going to use things that do area of effect damage here. So I can get hits on both. It's going to be very important. Oh. Okay. So it is definitely holding its own in this fight here. So I think we're going to hold off on her and we're going to go to Gale instead. Question is going to be, can I get Gale into a position I think I can by moving.
Certainly. Torment.
That might actually kill him. Oh, almost. Got 5 hit points left. Gale can't really move out of the way. Here. End his turn.
Not now.
We're going to cast Bless on our party members here. Now we definitely want to focus %, chance to hit. Let's get another arrow in here. Oh, wow. Critical hit, killed him right out. Reapply Hunter's Mark here. End the turn. And for her, hopefully we'll be able to end this fight just with a ranged attack. Perfect.
Skaketh, I have followed protocol. He does not speak for Vlaakith. This weapon must be powerful for a Kithrak to betray his own queen's children. He lies. I have devoted my life to my queen. I will be her chosen. It is my due. Search the bodies. We might find a way to the crash. And beware the skies. We are watched.
Okay. So we got an inspiration out of that.
No time to
And that
rest.
actually wasn't as hard. That actually went very, very well the second time. But you can see, well, with the exception of the problem with Gale. You want to put a cloud of daggers here because they tend to come up this stairway to get to you. There are two of them that have Misty Step, Oretha and the Raider that have Misty Step, and they can teleport up to you. But if you put it down here, they either walk through it and take damage, or they don't use it at all to come up and they stay down here. And you can better manage the fight that way. What I did was I cast it in a location and they didn't see it. It wasn't in their detection cone. So it didn't put me into the fight, and I just basically panicked out of it and moved Gale down here in a position to get him into the fight, and that left him vulnerable. But we were able to make it work, even so, and it worked out really well as part of it. But without the spectator being there, these two would have focused on me instead of on the spectator. And the spectator also caused some damage to Bertha. So without the spectator, that fight would have been much more difficult to do. Much more difficult. But we came out of it pretty well, all told. Okay. So now, like they said, we want to go down and, or like Lazelle said, we want to go down and search the bodies. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is start searching the other bodies that are down here. And not them. We'll look at the mercenaries here. Okay, standard stuff. And also, don't forget that there's a metal shield down here that you can pick up.
Still warm from the
And there's a pouch.
A dragon is clearly not to be trifled with.
Okay. Now, as far as the bridge goes here. Misty Step I have. You cannot Misty Step across it. It's too far. It says there's not enough space, but you can see the limit of your Misty Step here. And there's nowhere that you can teleport to down here. This kills you. It says you can teleport here. This is interesting. I've never actually tried this. I have some short rests, so let's save here. And for science, we'll try and teleport down here and see what happens. I actually want to split the group before I do this. Okay, and it kills you. And all of your stuff lays out all over the ground. Yep. Okay. So, yeah, that's what I thought. There's no way to get across there. However you can do it. Teleporting down there by the river, that's very similar to the other river where we tried that at. Just for science. And you get into a position where you can, it says you can jump to a particular area, but if you do, you're going to die. So we'll just reload that. But yeah, that was for science. So that one doesn't count. So far, we've done 3 reloads that we've kept. One of them was in the forge because the lava bugged out. So we reloaded to a save where it didn't bug out. The very first encounter here, because you just die right off the bat in an encounter like that. And like I say, since we're so severely under-leveled for this fight, I don't consider that a bad thing. And then the one that we just did here, just for science. So I don't consider any of those game breaking in what we've done. So now we can start looking at the Gith. So
What's in here?
we'll search this one first. Now the Gith has some very interesting stuff on them. So the first being their Githyanki weapons. All of their weapons have a chance to do psychic damage if you are 50% of your hit points or less. So if, for instance, for barbarians and things like that that are raging, where you spend a lot of time at 50% or less hit points, these weapons can be very, very powerful. Okay? I don't tend to do that, and other than just doing the conditional 1d4 psychic damage, they are normal weapons. So I don't use these typically. I already took one Githyanki half plate and put it in storage for other characters, but you can see that, for instance, the scale mail +1 is 15. So I actually sacrificed one to wear the dark justiciar mail here. So the scale mail +1 is exactly the same as Githyanki half plate, and I don't have anybody else who I want to give it to. So the rest of these Githyanki half plates are really just for sale at this point. But they are the best, tied for the best medium armor in the game right now. Okay, so a potion to Hill Giant Strength. We'll send to Lazelle a Githyanki Greatsword. Again, it's a, and we'll send it to Lazelle so you can see it. And we'll have her take the slate.
Tirsu markings. Could this be?
Magical energy courses through the slate. Then to Lazelle. A mystical map glows before Lazelle, revealing a Githyanki refuge beyond the mountain pass.
Zorru did not lie. I will soon reach a Githyanki crash. I must hurry forth. Purification is at hand.
Okay, so what that does is basically marks on your map, if we had that available to us, where the actual creche is. But since we don't have access to any of that portion of the map yet, it's not going to mark anything. Okay. So, but that was searching Beretta. She's now done.
Don't waste a step.
So there's never anything on the spectator.
What's hiding here?
Okay, so an arrow of roaring thunder, a Githyanki crossbow, Githyanki short sword, and another Githyanki half plate. And here, another short sword. And whoever takes this is going to be encumbered. Okay, so now let's look at what some of these Githyanki weapons are again. So the Githyanki crossbow is a 1d10 plus 4. So the 1d10 is equivalent to a heavy crossbow. It just does, again, psychic damage if you are less than 50% of your hit points. Now, it's well more than what the jolt shooter does, but it would be actually less than what a heavy crossbow +1 does, which you can buy right now. However, when you're up below 50% of your hit points, it has a chance to do more. So, again, a very situational thing, not something that I want to use right now because the 1d4 is added into this, so it's 6 to 14 under normal considerations, and right now I'm 5 to 12. And this gets me my lightning charges. So I'm not going to be using this. Same thing with the short sword. My short sword here is 1d6, or my scimitar right now is 1d6 plus 4, which is the same as the short sword. If I'm below 50%, it adds another 1d4, but if I'm not there, it's the exact same as adamantine scimitar. Okay, so dual wielding these, they're great weapons if you spend a lot of time below 50% hit points. If you don't, then they're purely mediocre. Okay. So now what I actually want to do is see if I can move some of this stuff around here to get these to a point where she's no longer encumbered. Oh, barely. Gonna be much. I want her to be just under being encumbered. Much. She's fine where she is. Okay, so now can I even any of these out to move another one here? Doesn't look like it. If I do this. Okay, so very close, very close, very close. Now, somebody's just going to be encumbered, and I think what I'm going to end up doing is just dropping leather armor. You know, it's not going to matter if you... So... Okay, so... we will take our group over this way, and we can look at the signpost. Gale would just be falling behind them.
Baldur's Gate,
Okay.
northwest. Elturel,
So,
south.
northwest would put us crossing the bridge to get to Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate.
Elturel is to the south,
Elturel, south. Moonrise
but we've already explored everything down here to the south. And
Baldur's Gate,
Moonrise Towers is to the west, which is
Elturel,
where we're going to be going this way. Since we can't cross the bridge, and you get to the mountain pass here
Horizon.
and interact with it.
Wonder what's out there.
Basically gives you the same thing. Not available on early access yet. So you can see, here's Joaquin's Rest. Here's the ways that you can go. So you'd be taking this overland path here, or this overland path here. But this supposedly says it's going to lead to Baldur's Gate. And this is the Moonrise Towers Pass, but I don't actually think that's the case. I think Baldur's Gate is actually under this enlarged map somewhere down here. Somewhere. This road is actually this one. But don't know yet. We'll find that out in the full access version of the game. So for now, we finished all of the content here, and what we're left with is just the path to Moonrise Towers, which we can't take anyway. So we are going to head to Mike and a colony.
We've had some rest, so maybe we can still go back
And we
to
are
the
going
others.
to get all of our hit here, just
No long
as we can.
Our work is bigger than any one of us.
And we're going to walk down here and do our trading. Clear up the last of our inventory
What's up for
by
discussion?
talking to the trader.
We'll be clearing out soon enough. No point in lingering now I've got the noble stock.
Okay. So as far as Gale goes, clearing these out. These weapons and that sort of stuff. Again, you can maximize all this by sending it to Gale. And again, they get the Yankee longsword. Not going to use. I'm just not going to transfer all this. The Githyanki Greatsword, we can look at that closer. Look, I guess. Guess we didn't really focus on it. We don't need the metal shield here. We don't need the Githyanki Crossbow or the short sword. Okay, and that is... Okay, and I didn't look at the Githyanki Greatsword, but here it is. 2d6 plus 1, 2d6 plus 1. This has 1d4 fire damage all the time. This has 1d4 psychic damage only when you're less than 50 hit points. So again, it's just not better than what the Everburn Blade is. The Everburn Blade you acquire in the prologue to early access. And you're going to be carrying that blade throughout the entire game, probably, if I had to think. I mean, there's probably something in the game that's going to beat it at some point. But all the way through early access, it's just the best two-handed sword to have on any of your characters. It just flat out is. You can find a bunch of things that equal it in certain situations, but for the most part, it's just the best thing that you're going to have.
We'll be clearing out soon. No point in
So in that
now
case,
I've got the noble stock.
I'm just going to sell it.
This'll do wonders for the shop.
Now, just for sake, I'm just going to head back out here. Okay. Okay, so looking at our quest journal, we found the Githyanki Creche. They weren't very cooperative. That's an understatement. Rescue Volo, we talked to him. He's going to decide to remain in our camp, and he's investigating some stuff for us. And the Githyanki Warrior completed this section after we did the Githyanki Creche. Okay. The things we have left is obviously the companion quests, but help the Cursed Monk. You have to get to Baldur's Gate, finish that off. Free the artist, Oscar. You have to get to Baldur's Gate to do that. Find the Night Song. The Night Song is, it says it's in some kind of temple. It must be in the Goblin camp. And the trail was in the Underdark. I can't find in the early access that you can complete the Night Song. I'm actually going to search while we're here and just make sure nothing changed in patch 8 that I didn't see, but I don't think you can complete this quest yet. Yeah, it doesn't look like you're able to complete it yet. At least in early access. Okay. Rescue the Grand Duke. We have to get to Moonrise Towers to be able to do that. And we're not able to get there. Same thing with rescue the gnomes. Reach Moonrise Towers is obviously the main quest. We just can't get there yet. Find the Githyanki Creche. We have to continue farther along towards Baldur's Gate, and we can't get there. So there's no other quests that we can complete or advance as we go through here. We do have some items in our inventory that we could give to Gale. I'm not entirely sure.
How can I help?
Let's see if... Oh, there's some other quest or some dialogue options in here.
If it should ever come to that, if I ever know I am no longer able to stop it, I will do anything I can to ensure no one but me pays for my mistakes. I will find the remotest place on the surface of Faerun, or perhaps far below in the depths of the Underdark. I will await that death, alone. I promise I will not betray your trust. You kept me by your side despite the menace that I am. If worst comes to worst, I will be long gone before the curtain falls. Ah, yes. Karsus. Karsus was perhaps the most powerful wizard that ever lived. The child who would be a god, the elves called him. And he tried. With a spell of his own devising, he endeavored to usurp in one fell swoop the power of the goddess of magic. Mistral, she was called then. Imagine what it must have felt like to be a god, to know yourself, to be untouchable, to be mistaken. As Karsus aimed his spell at her, she began to unravel, and with her, the entire weave. Too late did he realize what he had unleashed. It would have been the end of everything had not Mistral sacrificed herself. The goddess of magic is all magic. By dying, the entire weave was lost, and the spell that challenged a god failed. It was the end of Mistral, the end of Karsus, and the end of an entire civilization. As the child who would be a god was turned to stone, his empire came crashing down around him. The floating cities of Netheril were no more, an event that came to be known as Karsus's folly. For a spell, Mistral was reborn as Mistra. Upon her return, the weave returned with her. Now, so many centuries later, I try to follow in the footsteps of Karsus. Not to destroy Mistra, but to prove my love for her. I tried to control only a fraction of the magic that was unleashed that fateful day. I merely sought to return one tiny diamond to an imperfect crown. Gale's folly, one might call it. History, repetition. It's the way things go.
So for now, this brings us to the end of the early access and to the end of the Ranger gameplay livestream series. So give me some comments in the chat or in the video as to which classes or races you would like me to explore in the next playthrough. We will start a new playthrough next week, and right now I think we're maybe focusing on a barbarian, possibly on a bard or a druid. There's been a lot of bard and druid gameplays as those classes were introduced into the game, and it's been a while since there have been barbarian playthroughs because that was introduced a while back. So I may want to explore something like that, but feel free to give me your thoughts and your opinions, and maybe we'll adjust that. I'm anxious to be able to play other characters as well, possibly bringing in a sorcerer or something like that, so we leave Gale out of the party and instead end up with like Astarion being with us the entire time as a rogue, somebody to pick through all those doors and chests that we did as a ranger here. If you pick a barbarian, then you're leaving Lazelle behind, and you're adding Astarion to your group. So things progress a little differently that way as well. So interested to see, how you want to see the party makeup go based upon the type of character you want me to play as well. As a bard, it's a very interesting class in how it interacts with the people around it, and for the most part I would be leaving Shadowheart behind. If I brought a bard to the party, I think, and maybe you end up leaving Gale behind, but and bringing Will instead. But that's 6 of one, half dozen the other. Thing about Gale is that his magic missile spell becomes so powerful in later access, later version, or later progression through the early access, simply because of all the add-ons that go on to each individual missile that gets thrown. I mean, you saw I can take off 40 plus hit points with a single cast of a level 2 magic missile. So it can be very, very useful. But then again, being able to cast Eldritch Blast as a cantrip is very, very useful as well. So again, pros and cons to everything, but let me know what you think, and we'll come up with a new playthrough and a new class to start next week. During the week, if I don't hear anything from you guys one way or another, then I'm going to start working up a class and race combination and prepping for the playthrough. And we will start our playthrough just as we did this, by going through the class selection and the race selection, and then starting off on the prologue, and going through the prologue just as we did here. So let me know if you have any other questions or comments about what you saw here in the playthrough in this episode. Please feel free to leave them for me, and I read all the comments, and I'll answer anything or any questions or comments that you guys have. Until that time, again, I just want to say thanks for all of you who have stayed and watched through the playthrough. I know I will admit one thing to you guys. I've been extraordinarily lazy with the chapters. I'm going to go back and spend some time this week and add chapter notations to all of the live streams. I'm going to try and keep on top of that for the next playthrough, so that once the playthrough goes up, I can, you'll see the chapters on it within a day, making it easier for you guys to navigate around and look at various portions of it. What I'm also going to be doing is, starting as I get a couple of these playthroughs done, maybe on the third playthrough or so, I'll start uploading videos about the various different encounters that you have, the various different fights that you're going to get into, the various different puzzles that have to be solved, and that sort of stuff, and cutting videos together to create explanatory videos and that sort of stuff, and ways to prepare for big fights to minimize the amount of risk that you're going to encounter in them. But we'll be doing that more as we get a couple of these playthroughs under our belt already. So probably not coming up soon, but once we have multiple different encounters laid out and gone through, then we'll be able to pick the best out of each one and kind of go from there. So that's kind of a little bit update on the future of the channel going forward. I'll also try and spend some time here during the holidays, when I have more time away from work, to be able to professionalize, so to speak, the channel a bit more, work up some graphics for the channel and make everything look a little bit more presentable. Hopefully to be using this more of not just as I'm playing a game, here's what I played, you guys can watch it if you want, and if you don't, whatever, but actually showing it as more something that I'm willing to keep up with, something that I'm willing to present to all of you out there, and hopefully grow that followership along with it. So again, thank you all for being here through the live stream. Thank you for all the time you spent watching these videos. It is certainly appreciated. As I've said before at the start of this playthrough, and I will say at the end of every playthrough, I'm not the person that is ever going to ask anybody to like or subscribe to a video. That is entirely your choice, and I'm not going to throw that out there in any way for you guys. If you want to, you want to, but again, I'm not going to ask you to do that. So don't expect me to have those tagged on to every video. It's just not who I am. Anytime that you spend watching these videos, or subscribing, or liking, or commenting, is a great benefit just for me to be able to see it. And I hope that you're getting some use out of it, but I'm not going to ask you to do those things at any time, so don't feel obligated in any way. And with that, I will say thank you and goodbye. Thanks, everybody.